It's time for a new edition of Beyond the Arc here on High School Cube News. Brian Chimino with Michael O'Brien of the Chicago Sun-Times. Conference tournaments underway. We're talking about the Public League and the Chicago Catholic League. Let's start with the Public League and a very uneventful Sunday. 4 quarterfinal games, all blowouts. The closest game we had was Bogan beating Kenwood by 10 points. Other results from there, you had Uplift sort of surprisingly blowing out Orr, Simeon taking care of North Lawndale, and Whitney Young beating Hyde Park.
Yeah, seeing Uplift put in such a solid performance in that win over Orr, and to have Daniel Sotan be the star, not the two guys everybody knows about, Jeremy Roscoe and Spencer Foley, that was nice to see. But man, it was a dud of a day. I mean, people coming over to me that have been around the Public League for a long time talking about how it's without even question, it was the worst quarterfinals they'd ever seen. In 30 or 40 years, it was that bad. I mean, it's usually one of the best days of the season. Really didn't live up to it. I guess they can't all be great.
And we'll preview those semifinals on our 5 Things to Watch edition later in the week. The Catholic League tournament, the exact opposite, a lot more eventful, led by a huge upset. The number 9 seed in the tournament, Providence, taking out number 2 St. Rita.
I and many other people had put so much faith in St. Rita. This was not, your St. Rita from last year or the year before. This was new St. Rita, the St. Rita that beat Simeon, that was rising to greatness. Then this happens, and now everything comes into question. Charles Matthews picked up a technical in the first quarter. That was his second technical of the game. He sat the second quarter. So I don't know if it was because Coach DeCesar, decided he wasn't going to play the second quarter because of the technical, or because he had 2 fouls and they wanted to sit him out, but he didn't play. He missed the second quarter of the game. So that does hurt. St. Rita still has enough weapons. They should be able to beat Providence. So maybe we should look at it as more of a yay Providence than a boo St. Rita. Maybe Providence is one to watch. They do have Miles Boykin back, the football star who's going to Notre Dame. He's a much better basketball player than a lot of people give him credit for. He is a true threat. He probably could have played at maybe a mid-major D1 school. Providence is 10-2 since he's back. And this is the second year in a row we've seen some wacky upsets in the Catholic League tournament, so that's fun.
Other results from the Catholic League tournament, including St. Joe's over De La Salle, Hales winning over DePaul Prep, and Fenwick with a little minor upset over St. Ignatius.
Yeah, Fenwick is so solid. They've played such a tough schedule. This is it. Right now is the time when, for a team like Fenwick that isn't super talented, it's playing that tough schedule where you've just been through the grinder and they were able to pull it out. I saw Ignatius earlier this week, for the first time this year finally. They just don't have a lot of scoring weapons. They're a good defensive team. They're a smart team. They're even a fun team to watch, but there just aren't a lot of ways for them to score, so it's kind of never surprising when they drop one.
And we'll preview those semifinals as well on our 5 Things to Watch edition later in the week. We never talk about the Noble Sports Conference. They had their own little conference tournament, and it was the Bulls Prep knocking off a Johnson Prep in the title game by 2 points, another close game. They're second in the last 3 years. Yeah,
it was a fun game. Went and checked this one out at Exelon Gymnasium on the west side. The thing was packed. Everybody was really into it. It was a fun game to watch. Tracy Montgomery, the LeBron James of the Noble Sports Conference, hit the game winner. He is the all-time leading scorer in Bulls Prep history. He's the MVP of the conference, and then he hits the game winner in the title game. Kind of one to watch, Jared McIntyre. He's a freshman on Bulls Prep, and boy, he looks like a freshman. He is tiny. But he hit the 2 biggest threes of the game, except for Tracy Montgomery's. Really kind of turned the tide because Johnson was in control. They looked like a more talented team. They had some more scoring options. They were longer, but big shots did it. Bulls Prep pulled it around. But yeah, Jared McIntyre is a freshman to watch. He can shoot it.
A big one up in the North Suburban Conference Lake Division. Number 3, Lake Forest hosting a solid unranked Zion Benton squad, and the Scouts withstood runs by the ZBs 79-73.
Yeah, went out to this one to check out Admiral Schofield, the Zion Benton star. He's a Tennessee commit for the all-area team. I hadn't seen him play yet this season. Wow, he lived up to it. With Boudreau on him, with Lake Forest's entire focus was Admiral Schofield because he's really the only high-level scorer they have. He's still got it done. He scored 33 points. He was a force throughout. Wasn't as good as Evan Boudreau, but not many people are. I think that the thing I really took from this game, though, was despite the Lake Forest win, they are very susceptible to pressure in the backcourt. And, that's something Stevenson doesn't really do. Stevenson sits back a lot more, so we didn't see that in the Stevenson game. So you have to wonder if Lake Forest did advance. I guess Lake Forest isn't going to see a lot of that in their sectional even. But once they got through, I think they might be in some trouble with a longer, more athletic team that really wanted to pressure the guard. So Lake Forest, rising in the rankings, but that's really something to keep an eye on if they can handle pressure like that from some teams.
And finally, we've got to talk about the Willowbrook program. Just a couple of years ago, a team that really struggled to get 5, 6, or 7 wins. They have won 12 games in a row, and they're led by the sophomore, who we've talked about plenty this year, Alonzo Verge Jr.
Yeah, a lot of people on the Twitter are not happy that Willowbrook is not ranked. It is, I thought about it this week. It was close, but you look back at their resume, and yeah, 12 wins, you cannot take that away from anybody. 12 wins over anybody is an amazing accomplishment, 12 in a row. It's really hard to do, but the problem is the best win in the streak is Morton, a team who's up and down. And to get into the Super 25 this late in the season, you have to have that one really high-quality win to hang your hat on, even if you got 12 in a row. So right now, they're still on the outside looking in, but you never know next week.
And that'll do it for this edition of Beyond the Arc here on High School Cube News. Just a reminder, every Tuesday, the No Shot Clock podcast with Mike and Joe Henriksen drop in on your favorite podcast app. For Michael O'Brien, I'm Brian Chimino. We'll see you later in the week for a whole new 5 Things to Watch edition of Beyond the Arc.